The Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones is an English band founded in 1962 in London. The first band members include Brian Jones as the lead guitar and harmonica, Ian Stewart as the piano, Mick Jagger as the lead vocals, and Keith Richards as the guitarist and Charlie Watts in charge of drums. The Rolling Stones was one of the bands that came to the US in the mid-1960s, which was called British Invasion. In the summer of 1964, the Rolling Stones first came to America. Upon their arrival, it seemed word about the band hadn't made it out of London yet, and as Stones bassist Bill Wyman put it was a disaster. When we arrived, we didn't have a hit record or anything going on for us. However, just a few months later, following the release of their second US album, 12X5, record sales for the band started to pick up, and their single "Time Is On My Side" reaches number 6 on the US charts. With their popularity starting to grow in the United States, the Rolling Stones took a page from the Beatles' book and were scheduled on the Ed Sullivan Show. On October 25th, 1963, the evening show brought the Rolling Stones national attention, both good and bad. The appearance helped generate over $1 million in ticket sales for the band, and one of the many Western Union telegrams received by the show for the following week's read: "Should be ashamed of yourself putting on such trash as Rolling Stones," which was on the other side's comment. But overall, the Rolling Stones had finally captured the attention of the American audiences. So I'm gonna introduce a song called "Satisfaction" by the Rolling Stones, which was released in 1965. It was written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and produced by Andrew Loog Oldham. Richards' three-note guitar riff, intended to be replaced by horns, opens and drives the song. The lyrics refer to sexual frustration and commercialism. The song was first released as a single in the United States in June 1965 and also featured on the fourth studio album American version of Out of Our Heads, released that July. Satisfaction was a hit, giving the Stones their first number one in the US. In the UK, the song initially played only on pirate radio stations because its lyrics were considered too sexually suggestive. In Britain, the single was released in August 1965. It became the Rolling Stones' fourth number one in the United Kingdom. So next time I'll be talking about some bands missing from the British invasion. So the first one was The Shadows. The Shadows were originally Cliff Richard's backing band. He was kind of referred to as the English Elvis. It was definitely a new sound and a real signal that the electric guitar, which was so important to all the British beat groups, and was establishing itself as the texture and the instrument of its time. The Beatles were even very big Shadows fans. The Big Three were one of the oldest groups. They started in 1959. Brian Casser from the group was originally in a skiffle band with Bill Wyman from the Rolling Stones. Skiffle being a kind of folk music played with guitars and homemade instruments, a way in which the British bands could acquaint themselves with American roots and folk roots, and kind of remove themselves from the glossy and overproduced pop artists of the time. The third band was the Mercedes. They were also from Liverpool, and was one of the earliest beat groups that took over the British charts in 1963. Their records are very pop and didn't really reflect their harder sound. They later changed the name to the Mercedes and do a song in 1966 called Sorrow, which is quite a British classic. The Pretty Things had the lead guitarist Dick Taylor. He actually started out as the bass guitarist for the Rolling Stones too. He went to art college with Mick and Keith, but the Pretty Things are also interesting because they were one of the only groups that made the transition to psychedelia from being a British beat group